I imagine most of you know about Lassie, the hero dog from television. Well, on today's episode, I'm going to tell you about the real life Lassie who saved their owner after a horrific car accident. Let's get into it next. All right, we're going to go ahead and get this episode going. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Learn, Laugh, Bark podcast. I am Jake from OnDog Training Academy. We are an online dog training company. We have some courses out. Our most current course is called Remote Pause, where you can learn about how to deal with most common behavior problems you're having in your house. Let's say your dog has gone to dog training school. No sitting down, maybe nose recall, some healing, all that. But when you get home, they're still counter surfing. They're still getting into trouble. They're still barking outside the window. That's where Remote Pause comes in. It is an online course that's going to help walk you through stuff. We do live sessions every couple weeks, and we just want to help you guys out to have just better and happy lives with your dog. So check out ondogtrainingacademy.com for more information on the Remote Pause course. On this week's episode, what I want to be talking about, and you know how we like to end the month with a inspirational story of some kind. Well, this week, or this month, I should say, episode is from the article is from the Hot 107.9 radio station ran this article, and it's called Real Life Lassie, Hero Dog Leads Authorities to Scene of Owner's Horrific Crash. And what I think was really cool about this story is, and we'll talk about it more towards the end, is this really shows how bonded dogs can get to their people. If we treat the dogs right, if we give them good structure, good training, and we just create this bond with the dogs, these dogs will do anything for us. And I think that's what separates, in my opinion, to some degree, cats and dogs. Because I think in this situation, the cat probably just said adios. I guess that's the end of that and walked away. I could be wrong. If you're a cat person, I apologize. But let's go ahead and dive into the story. So here's the story starts out, says, reports say that a real-life Lassie helped lead authorities to her owner and a passenger that had been in a serious accident. After authorities in New England responded to a call of a loose dog on the interstate, the German Shepherd led them to the site of their owner's rolled-over truck. The dog's name is Tinsley. It's a 1-year-old Shiloh Shepherd. So if you don't know what a Shiloh Shepherd is, basically, without getting too into the weeds with this, it's basically a very fluffy, coated German Shepherd. There's differences more than that, but that's just the best example I can get. So Tinsley, who clearly has life-saving instincts, and I think that's because of that bond with its owner, was on a scene, and people called because they called to the Veteran Memorial Bridge located Interstate 89 near the New Hampshire-Vermont border, as a dog was reported to be wandering around late at night. So Tinsley was just wandering around on the road, and people were just concerned for the dog's safety. When the troopers arrived to the area, they reported spotting the dog, but as they approached her, she began running north. Police initially thought the dog was running away from them, but she wouldn't let them get too far away. Every time she started to get a certain distance, she would stop and let them catch up. And then she'd go a little bit further, and then she would stop and let them catch up. The report says that the police on scene followed the dog all the way to some damaged guardrails along the side of the interstate. This is when authorities saw the dog looking down towards a severely damaged, overturned pickup truck, where her owner and other passenger, the owner of the dog and passenger, they were both seriously injured and were starting to become hypothermic because it was cold and wet that night. Authorities on the scene were able to call for medical assistance, and the two people involved in the crash were transported to the hospital for treatment. The owner of Tinsley called his dog a little guardian angel. The report says that Landry is the owner, the incident itself was a miracle that the dog had the intelligence to do what she did. And obviously then you start looking at the comments on Facebook and everyone's like, this dog should have a medal. This dog, is a hero, everything like that. Now I agree. This dog is 100% a hero. This dog is the true epitome of man's best friend. And although this is a short story, this again proves why I think it's really important when we're working and training with our dogs to be fair. I mean, I'm not saying we need to like baby them or anything like that. We need to have that structure. We need to have that control and stuff so that the dog's not running all over and being a complete butthead. But at the same time, if we are fair to the dogs will see that. And if we're sweet to the dogs, if we bond with the dogs are going to see that. And it's going to make them want to be with us even more. And to me, this is the epitome of what it's all about. Like, man's best friend. This is why they call them man's best friend, is because these dogs will do almost anything for us if you have that bond, if you have that connection. Really good example I can give of my own this was many, 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 many years ago. This dog ended up being a client of ours till it died at about 12 years old. So this dog died probably 5-6 years ago or more. At 6 months old, this dog, and it's a golden retriever, something was off. And one day it didn't want to come in the house, so I walked out like I normally do, and I just grabbed her by the collar and said, let's go inside, and I started to guide her in. I wasn't being aggressive, nothing. And she blew up on me, trying to attack me, coming after me. And during that whole thing, my Basset Hound at the time, he ended up passing away at 12, but at that time he was significantly younger, obviously. He saw this dog trying to attack me, and I was able to kind of pin the dog down and get the dog to calm down. But during the struggle, my Basset Hound came running over trying to fight the other dog to defend me, because they went, oh my God, my owner, my dad, whatever you want to call it, is in trouble. I need to defend them. And I just personally feel like that type of stuff, now granted I was able to keep him away, but I think that type of stuff doesn't necessarily come up if you're mean or unfair to a dog. And so this is just, again, when you're working and training with your dogs, think about this stuff. Would your dog help you in these type of situations? What would your dog do in these situations? A really good test of this was years ago, and then I'll let you guys get out of here because I know I'm kind of getting away from the whole point of talking about the stories and stuff. Years ago, I was doing some training with a guy from Europe, and he said, I want to do a test with everybody. I want to see how much your dog likes you in this situation. And so he brought us out onto the training field, one at a time. And this was just throughout the day, as we brought our dogs out to do training, this is the first test he wanted to do because in his opinion, it gave him an idea of where you and your dog were at. He said, lay down in the grass, face down. Unhook your dog and lay down in the grass. And people would unhook their dogs, and their dogs would just go, I'm free. And they'd see you laying in the grass and go, yeah, okay, I'm free, bye, boom. And they'd run away. And I did it with my own dog, and I laid down, face down in the grass, and unhooked my dog, and my dog noticed me laying in the grass and ran over and tried to bury his head as far into my neck and face as possible because I'm laying down, and he's like, oh my God, you're down here. I just want to be with you. This is so awesome. And honestly, when you look at the people who struggled and you look at the way that they were training, there was just some things I think that were disconnecting the dog from the person. And that's what I think as a society, we need to make sure we don't lose. We have to keep that connection between you and your dog. If we depend on tools too much, and I'm not against tools, if we depend on tools too much, if we become too heavy-handed with our dogs, that is when I think we start to see bond struggles. And I personally, when it comes to our training philosophy, we obviously like training proactively and thinking ahead. I'm huge into having a super good bond with my dog, with client dogs or whatever, so that I know these dogs will do stuff for me because they want to, not because they necessarily feel like they have to. We still make them do stuff, but I want it to be more of an enjoyable thing. So guys, I hope this week was helpful. After I went on my little tangent here talking, but the story itself should just be inspiring to you to make sure that you have that style of bond with your dog. And go do that lay down on the ground test that I talked about and see what your dog does. So guys, like I mentioned, hopefully this was helpful. Thank you guys so much for listening. Make sure you check out OnDogTrainingAcademy.com. And like always, we'll see you next week.
Good dog.